We will now move on to the informal part of the meeting, starting with a brief overview from me, followed by a brief presentation by Craig. This will be followed by the opportunity for Q&A. As I mentioned in the first part of the meeting, GMG under Craig Nichols' leadership made substantial progress since last year's annual meeting. The best way to summarize the progress made is to say that during the year, the company began the process of transitioning from a pre-revenue development company to a company that is beginning to commercialize several of its products and to generate revenues. Also, GMG successfully completed several capital raises during the year, which has resulted in a strong cash position. Beginning with the development of a proprietary process for producing high-purity graphene from natural gas, GMG has been developing several high-margin end-use products since the company's inception over 9 years ago. These products include a coating, a lubricant, an additive for all batteries, and a next-generation aluminum-ion battery, all manufactured using the company's graphene. During the year, GMG completed development and testing on its thermal XR coating and its G lubricant. With these two products, packaging, barcodes, promotional material, and distribution have all been arranged, and the company has begun taking orders. With respect to Super G, the additive which will improve the performance of all lithium-ion batteries, final testing is currently being performed at the Battery Innovation Center in Indiana. In addition to testing, BIC will be able to produce battery samples at its facilities, saving GMG millions of dollars in CapEx for an investment in a pilot facility. Finally, GMG continued to make substantial progress in the development of its own battery. In addition to the efforts of the company's battery development team, GMG has benefited from its relationship with BIC and the unique experience and knowledge of my fellow director, Bob Gallion. Bob is one of the most knowledgeable professionals in the global battery business and has been working closely with Craig and GMG's battery development team. Craig will provide further details on each of GMG's products in his remarks, and we would be happy to answer any questions you may have in the Q&A session. On behalf of the company's board of directors, I would like to take this opportunity in closing to congratulate and thank Craig and the GMG management team and all of the company's employees for a job well done.
Today I would like to cover the following in the CEO update. A quick overview of the progress of our product portfolio, which are all targeted at providing solutions for the global energy market transition during its transition to renewable energy. An update on GMG's core technology, our graphene manufacturing process, product commercialization progress across all our products, an overview of GMG's operations, and then finally an update on the next generation graphene aluminum-ion battery development progress and next steps for its roadmap. GMG targets two major markets: energy efficiency, which include graphene coatings, lubricant additive, and lithium-ion battery additive improvement efficiencies in HVAC, engines, and lithium-ion batteries. It also targets the use of energy storage products, the lowering of energy use and reducing emissions for commercial and industrial clients. These three products are now launched and are actively being purchased and or evaluated by customers globally. With regard to the energy storage, GMG, in collaboration with the University of Queensland is developing the graphene aluminium-ion batteries that are expected to surpass lithium-ion batteries on charging speed, cycle life, safety, and sustainability. Aluminium is more abundant and less costly than lithium, and GMG's batteries reduce the risk of thermal runaway. GMG manufactures graphene in-house using a proprietary process that converts natural gas into high-quality graphene, bypassing typical graphite mining dominated and controlled by China. This graphene then supports GMG's energy saving and energy storage applications. GMG is expecting to bring online its Gen 2 graphene production project in June 26, with up to 20 times higher production rate per unit, which is up to 10 tonnes per annum. Since November 17, 2025, BASF will offer Thermal XR Enhance as an optional coating solution on self-branded refrigeration evaporator coils. BASF is one of the world's largest global refrigeration and HVAC distributors with a large market share in Australia. They have over 73 wholesale locations in Australia alone. GMG is now available for order its small pack range of G lubricant and Thermal XR products in pallets for easy distribution globally. Notably, the packs have labels which have 16 languages on each for ease. This is a significant milestone of graphene technology to have a palletized product available for global distribution. These products will be available for dispatch increasing over the next month, including a newly developed Thermal XR kit for do-it-yourselfers and entrance-level technicians. As our products in bulk, small pack and service projects make our way into the market around the world, the breadth of opportunity for GM's products is expansive and significant and growing daily. We are actively pursuing a larger sale team located geographically around the world for faster sales pipeline development. GMG has established confidential partnerships and distributor relationships with large manufacturers covering applications in automotive, personal electronics, aviation, energy, and heavy industry. The company receives support from Tier 1 industry participants like Rio Tinto, with $6 million joint product development agreement and ongoing collaborations with academic institutions and government grants reinforce technical leadership and commercialization credibility. Thermal XR continues its market adoption in various verticals: air conditioners, refrigeration, industrial plants, data centers, heat sinks for electronics. Thermal XR's distribution into North America is still awaiting for USA EPA approval. We are expecting this to occur before the end of the year. Newer Calgon, a long-established North American master distributor of HVAC chemicals, is ready to launch once the EPA consent notice is in place. GMG has the product available to ship that New Calgon has already ordered. Glubricant.com allows direct sales globally and has been launched now for some months, and we've had great customer testimonials, some with more than 20% fuel savings. In a recent near 3,000-kilometre rally, a vehicle using G lubricant achieved near 14% fuel savings, a truly amazing outcome. We expect more testimonials soon, and shortly we should have some commercial fleet trial data, which we believe will be fundamental for a successful launch in the commercial road transport market globally. GMG Super G is an additive for lithium-ion batteries. It can be used as a cathode additive at 1% and/or after further development work has potential for an anode alternative to graphite, which is largely export controlled by China. BIC Indiana is currently testing Super G with lithium-ion batteries, and the results for this work should be available shortly. GMG continues to progress the development of the graphene aluminium-ion battery through the electrochemistry optimization. The main focus is to achieve a fast-charging battery of at around 10 C, fully charged in 6 minutes. We expect it will be a long-life battery, many thousands of cycles, have an economic energy density at high charging speeds, and likely not need a battery thermal management system whilst being lithium-free. GMG's battery is currently at BTRL4, which is electrochemical optimization, and we're working with BIC Indiana to help optimize this new technology. Over the next 2 years, we plan to utilise the BIC Indiana to further finalise the development of the batteries and eventually make enough cells to produce modules and packs for customer testing. Our GMG operations in Brisbane is now growing into full production, with production planning to gradually increase production levels of all plants to meet the growing demand. With many levers still remaining to expand production as needed, including moving to 3 shifts per day and 7 days per week operation, adding additional inexpensive blending units, Gen 2 10-tonne graphene production plant switched on in June 26, and also now able to use some third-party graphene for some of our products' production by blending with our own graphene. In our efforts to expand to North America to tap low-cost gas and electricity, we are thinking that we would likely mirror this whole operation with the graphene plant and the blending plants, minus the battery development centre. GMG has now over 170 million shares outstanding, 3 million options available, and approximately 22 million warrants outstanding, which have a strike price which is at or around our share price. GMG still enjoys a yearly large multi-million dollar cash rebate from the Australian Government R&D tax rebate scheme. The company has never had such strong finances, with approximately 2 years of cash burn without including revenues, which are now expected to come from a number of global market opportunities. There are now a few graphene investment theme comparables to GMG, and with all of them, the comparison is stark, with GMG now having fully developed a number of world-leading applications with patents approved or patents pending, and looking forward to multiple sources of significant potential revenue with high margins. GMG's investment top five highlights are proprietary low-cost scalable production technology, which took 9 years of development, high-margin first-to-market products in global scale sectors, multiple revenue opportunities poised for growth. Energy efficiency and energy storage market forces are strong and building at the time as GMG's products are being commercialised. The potential next step for the company is to expand into a lower cost base, large capital and product market of North America. This concludes our presentation. Again, we want to thank you for your support as shareholders and your time today. We look forward to any questions you might have.
We will now turn to the Q&A session. If you've not already asked your question in the Q&A tab, please do so now.
We have one question. That's already come up.
Question.
Question is, why has sales revenue been below expectations, and what are you doing about it? I think this is an excellent question. Clearly, not receiving the EPA approval for our Thermal XR when we already have built a distribution opportunity into the North American markets, which has included Canada, Mexico, Caribbean, and America all at the same time, was not good for our sales. We haven't been sitting on our hands, though. We've developed a new package range. We've also been launching the product in other markets, and we believe that with those actions on top of the EPA approval, which we expect shortly, we should be able to be coming fighting fit. The reason why we did 16 languages on every pack is because we don't need to be too focused on which country those products need to go to. Effectively, every pallet can go to any country in the world, largely. With 16 languages, that's multi-billions of people. We're stocking up on that inventory. We have got orders coming in, and we've enabled third-party suppliers to fulfillment, both for fulfilling as well as for logistics. So we believe, we've spent time getting it right whilst we've been waiting for the biggest market for our products to come online. So I think that's how I would answer that. Looking for the next question. Okay, we haven't heard much about the progress for the battery. I might throw this one to Bob, who has a lot more battery knowledge than me. Bob, can you just give us a progress update on the battery, please?
Craig, I'd be more than happy to. Over the last year, there's been a lot of progress made by the team there in Brisbane. Um, Maybe the shareholders would like to hear a little perspective. There's literally thousands of different people and companies out there working on battery technology, but you just don't go out broadcasting every little nook and cranny or every discovery that you make, because you give people false hopes. And I think the important point here is we've made some really, really good and steady progress in the Brisbane operation. So I'm really quite pleased, given consideration. I've been most blessed to be the chief engineer at General Motors, which was the biggest battery manufacturer in the world in lead acid, and then helping be the second employee at CATL, creating the biggest battery company in the world in the lithium space. So I'm quite a fortunate individual to be able to look at the stuff, because people used to walk into my office with the greatest things since sliced bread every day in the CTO role. But your team has done a wonderful job in doing what we call sprints. That is, they take individual baby steps by taking these sprints and making breakthrough renditions, if you will, of experiments. You might want to call them beaker experiments, or you may want to call them a full-blown experiment, but regardless, they've been making steady progress. And I think one of the most important things about what we're doing is it's a graphene aluminum battery. That is, it has readily available materials. Aluminum is one of the most easily recycled material on the planet. It's readily available. And the graphene that Graphene Manufacturing Group can produce can make a very cost-effective, very high-power battery. So I'm very interested in seeing what the next breakthroughs are going to be. And I'm quite fortunate, Craig, you mentioned the Battery Innovation Center. They're literally an hour and a half drive from my home here in the state of Indiana. Many years ago, Indiana was the epicenter of the battery universe during the time that General Motors was the leading battery manufacturer in the world. And I was fortunate to work for those guys, working my way up to chief engineer. And now I've got the opportunity to literally drive down the road here to the Battery Innovation Center and follow the development work that you're doing all the way from Brisbane that's being transferred over for the Battery Innovation Center to build in larger quantities. So if anybody's got any other questions that they'd like to ask, I'm readily available here on the call tonight so that we can answer questions. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Bob. Thank you. Just waiting for the next question. Yeah, interesting question. What does success look like for GMG in 1, 2, and 5 years' time? Well, Andrew's actually come all the way from Australia, so we might ask Andrew this one.
Thanks, Craig. Yes, 1, 2, 5 years. Look, I obviously, as already identified by yourself and mentioned by Jack as well, EPA approval, getting full EPA approval, exporting bulk thermal XR into the US market here. That's critical to address our customers' demands here. Beyond that, we would then start looking at sales and distribution of thermal XR and G lubricant in Australia and wider across the entire world, which would move us towards cash flow positive, move us towards a cash flow positive position. In reality, cash flow positive has always been a strong driver of our business. We need to get to that point. And then finally, obviously, we've just had Bob talking about our groundbreaking graphene aluminium ion battery, which we need to get that commercialised. And I think we've got a dedicated team there in Brisbane. We're supported heavily by the Battery Innovation Centre. That to me, in the medium to longer term, is a goal.
Thanks, Andrew. We're just waiting for the next question. So we have a question here. The recent Think Equity conference indicated a very large sales projection of $37 million Australian by 2027. Is there any guidance expected to follow that will help investors see expectations around this? I would absolutely love to give you guidance. I think it's dangerous for everybody at this point because there's so many opportunities, either too low or too high. So at this moment, we don't have guidance, and the day we will, it'll be a very proud moment for myself and the company. So I would love to give you guidance on that, but unfortunately not. There have been, and there are some analysts' reports on our ability to generate revenue. I think the opportunity is very, very real. We're going into massive markets where we are providing a solution where there basically is no other solution, and our costs are quite marginal, quite low. So yes, I do believe sales projections can be in the tens of millions, potentially by 2027, but we don't have a formal guidance on it. Okay, another question's just come in. Thanks, keep bringing the questions in. Is your business model easy to replicate and expand? I keep hearing GMG talk about North American expansion. What is happening? Well, Jack, you're in North America all the time, so maybe you take that one, please.
Yeah, so GMG has great opportunity in North America for all of its products, really, starting with the production of graphene. And one of the reasons for that is that the North American natural gas market is probably one of the biggest markets now in the world. And the administration of the United States has made it a policy for the United States to be a net exporter of natural gas. So the availability of relatively cheap and plentiful natural gas makes the North American market an attractive one from a production point of view. Clearly, from a market point of view, the North American market for products like the air conditioning units, for the lubricants, for the battery, is again one of the largest in the world. So from both a market and a production point of view, North America is very attractive. Now, in terms of getting the product manufactured, the other piece of the good news is the fact that compared to what the revenues that can be generated, the CapEx is actually relatively small. So when Craig talks about a Gen 2 facility, which could probably be built for under $5 million, that can generate something close to $100 million of revenues in end-use products. That kind of ratio is something I'm not used to. I was in a manufacturing business where sometimes we had products that required $1 of CapEx for every $1 of revenues. So to have something like the products that the company manufactures that have such a low capital or CapEx intensity is really very, very attractive. So, we think it's very easy nothing's ever easy, but it's relatively easy for the company to expand into the North American market. From a competitive point of view, the company's patent positions in all of its end-use products, the unique process that it's developed for producing high-purity graphene, and just the development work that's been done over the last 9 years makes the company's markets, from a competitive point of view, makes the company, very strong and very hard for other companies to enter. So, we're very excited, and starting with the EPA approval, which, as Craig said, should be received relatively quickly. Starting with the EPA approval, we expect to start unlocking the North American market in 2026.
Thank you. That's a very good answer. And yes, nothing is easy. I agree with your point there. I saw GMG present, as another question, I saw GMG present at the Think Equity Conference this year. Are they doing something with you in the US? Jack, you might want to take that.
So, when I came on the board of directors, because of the fact that I've had a substantial amount of capital markets experience, one of the things that Craig and I and the board members talked about was trying to broaden the shareholder base for the company to include institutional investors. And clearly, the institutional market in the United States for equities is the largest in the world by any stretch. And so one of our objectives was to basically develop that institutional shareholder base. Now, the fact that the company's listed in Toronto makes it a little bit more difficult, but we did also get a listing on the OTC market in the United States to help that. But it goes well beyond that. You need to kind of get the story out to potential investors, because while everybody has heard about graphene, it's been around for 9 or 10 years. And so there's a lot of misinformation, and the things that the company's doing are very unique. And so it's a very compelling, but a very complicated story to tell. And so we've asked Think Equity, and they've been fantastic. They've lined up over 300 meetings with various institutional investors in the United States, and Craig and I and Josh have been, over the last 2 years, have been talking to. So Think Equity is a company that has a reputation for basically helping, early stage companies to develop a strong institutional following, and that's why we've been working with them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about Think Equity. Thanks for those comments, Jack. Looking for the next question. Okay. Excellent question. I think this is another one for you, Bob. So what is the use case of GMG's graphene aluminium-ion battery? Will this be an economical battery to produce? Over to you, Bob.
Certainly it will be economical because it's being made from readily available materials, particularly the aluminum part. The electrolyte systems are something that will be easily manufactured, and the graphene, of course, made by GMG themselves. Then the rest of it's basically thrown together around some packaging. Then that packaging goes into building either a module or a pack or a combination thereof. And the types of application that this battery will be used for are things that need really high power density. As an example, for Department of Defense around the world, could be used for things like launching aircraft off of aircraft carriers, for electromagnetic pulse systems, or guidance systems for missiles and rockets that require some high power. But for normal domestic use, such as mining operations, which is done in places like Australia, you got to climb those giant machines out of the pit that's mining the materials. And this is an excellent application because this type of battery not only has great power density climbing out of the pits, but also when it goes back down into the pit, it can recover a lot of energy because these giant machines have a lot of potential energy in the sheer mass of the machine itself. So they regenerate the electricity going back down the hill. So the amount of time that they have to be on recharge at the top of the hill is rather minuscule compared to the time of the trips going up and down the hill. So that's a couple of applications, but one I really like. In fact, I was on another board meeting earlier today where we were talking about heavy-duty trucks. Heavy-duty trucks, they burn enormous amounts of diesel fuel when they launch from stoplights and stop signs. So the people that I was talking to earlier today were planning on using a high-power battery in conjunction with a hybrid system with diesel so that they can cut down on the amount of total diesel that's consumed during the time of launching the large tractor trailer from stoplights or stop signs. And of course, there's other applications that I could go into great detail in construction equipment, farming equipment, and things like that. So hopefully that adequately answered the question.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks, Bob. That's very good, very clear answer. I've got the next question. Andrew, this looks like one more for you. As a director, what do you consider are GMG's key risks?
Okay, thanks, Craig. Look, if I go back a year or two, I would have thought technology risk, product risk, they were some of the risks that we had. I believe we have mitigated or we've overcome those challenges so far. If I put my thoughts together now, I would say, like most businesses, we rely heavily on an amazing team of people. And as we grow, we need to recruit, attract, and retain more of these people. Now, we need to do that in Australia and as we grow our business overseas. In Australia at the moment, we have record high levels of employment, which makes this an incredibly challenging process to attract and retain and recruit those people. And I see that as probably our major risk.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. North America will not just be lower cost gas and market and capital, will be also a great market for people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question. Thanks for the questions. I appreciate the time you're putting into this. What is your strategy to penetrate global markets with TXR and G lubricant small packs? I think I might take this one. So it's an excellent question. In my experience in working in this space for Shell for some years in both global and local markets and small packs and bulk markets, is that you need to have as many opportunities in the pipeline as possible with as many different pack sizes and as many different types of opportunities, including distributors, to make it work. You know, if you're counting on 1 deal or 10 deals or 20 deals, you can't expect those deals to come through. You've got to have so many deals, opportunities coming through that you can't count them. And that's actually when you know you're in a hyper growth company. And, you know, that is kind of where we're at. We do have a good CRM system, but, you know, it is very difficult to understand how many opportunities we have at any one time, because it does increase daily. So we need to attract global distributors of all different sizes, large, medium and small. Very innovative companies can move very fast in this small packs distributor space, whilst, you know, they will be able to create new supply chains. I think with innovative products, you need innovative supply chains. And that's okay up front, but eventually you want the large scale distributors to come in to get wide market access. And that's what our products are intended for. So, you know, really your intention is to both respond to calls, requests for distribution in any countries, and we do get them all over the world, as well as targeting large distributors to run the timeline it will take for them. And then the big one in the room is obviously OEM testing. We've obviously seen one OEM come through after many years with Bayer. That's one OEM. We have other OEMs already through. They're buying product from us. They're getting us to service code. They're testing us. They will test us until they realize that we are capable of supplying every need that they need reliably, on time, in full. Large OEMs did not become large OEMs without risk mitigation. And we have one plant, and one graphene plant, and we have one location. I think one of the drivers will be, over the next coming years, is to have plants in other countries, North America, which will then start to really reduce the risk for these large OEMs to come on board, because then we'll have multiple plants, multiple opportunities to supply if something does happen to one plant. So continuing OEM testing is the longer term strategy. It does take time. We've been working with some OEMs for 5 years, doing work with them, and it's not going to change. That will get supported with distributors in the market. We feel there's a glove in hand type arrangement. They start to understand that the product's got acceptance in the market, and then they start to focus on it more as well. But yeah, there's many opportunities, and that's what we've done with our product manual, which is enabling multi-language, very easy discussions. I can remember trying to sell graphene 9 years ago, and testing would often take 2 years to get a customer to convince them that they should use our graphene powder. Now I can have a conversation, or our sales guys can have a conversation in half an hour, email, and then they've got everything information and they've got all the pricing, and they can go ahead with it. So with that technology development, 9 years of work, we've effectively reduced the cycle time for a customer down from 2 years to about 30 minutes. And the more and more we see emails or website requests where people are actually saying, I've been watching you for 2 years, I now want to go ahead and do some work with you. And we often find they're very fast to go through to the order phase because they already know the type of company that we can deliver on our specifications. I have another question here. I could go on to that for a while now, but I'll stop. Another question, what makes GMG unique and best placed to take advantage of the world's increasing awareness and adoption of graphene in comparison to its competitors? I think I might take this one. Fundamentally, the biggest thing about our company is our people. We mentioned that they're very difficult to obtain, but fundamentally we have some amazing people, and you've got to bridge the scientific, detailed nanotechnology world into an everyday marketing construct that people can buy and use your products reliably. That's taken over 200 different application tests over 9 years and 8 years of individual testing and development for each individual product. So the battery is only 4 years in, where the other products are generally 8 years. So that kind of gives you an understanding of how long it takes and also the effort and the team that needs to be worked through that. And as in every team, you need to transition the team from the early days, the early startups phase, through to, which is the scale-up phase now, which is now more around building sales, distribution, and externally focused. So we're quite internally focused for the last few years, trying to get our technology out, and now it's really external focused. So we do need to start changing our team into more and more salespeople, and percentage-wise, I would love to be a lot higher percentage of salespeople than operations people, because then we know we've got hunters, we've got a hunting organisation, which is typically a very large amount of sales, typically more than 50%. Our graphene quality has been identified and tested by a number of universities, and they've said it is high quality. We have chosen the I think most difficult path of actually doing the work ourselves to be able to retain the value that you get through selling a solution. And that graphene quality, whilst no one has to really concern themselves about it, it's because we've done all the nanotechnology in our end solution products. And that's why we're able to sell them at much higher value price than if you were just selling the graphene powder. That work, we believe, will pay dividends for decades. I think our business is on a trend of energy transition, which will find itself there for many decades. This transition is not going to be fast. I think we all understand that now. Lithium-ion batteries and hydrogen engines are not going to completely change out petrol and diesel cars tomorrow. So the energy transition, which we believe is going to be one of the largest events of society since the Industrial Revolution, will need our products and other products like it. Right now, we're probably very unique. Very, very few technologies actually exist like ours that can actually do these things. So we're very much a breath of fresh air. But that graphene quality is where it starts, and our product solution is where it ends. And I think those things create a really unique opportunity for us to go into very high margin, large volume applications. Then our key relationships. Rio Tinto, which tends to be not necessarily talked about too much, are a great partner, and we've really enjoyed working with them and continue to enjoy working with them. University of Queensland, one of the world leading universities in the world, who we've been obviously working with our battery, but many other different products that help test and prove. The Battery Innovation Centre of Indiana, truly world leading what they have. And we're beginning to bring together a number of suppliers who, previously our suppliers was really just our electricity and gas, because that's all we needed to make our graphene. But now we're building supplier lists, and we'll be coming out shortly on our partners that we'll have for our various different other ways we're going to move our product around, especially with logistics, which we will become more of a logistics company and packaging company because that's our main actually issue to be able to get these sales through. Whereas our nanofluids, which we've scaled and we can make easily now, it's actually that final point of now becoming a warehouse and distribution company to really enable the sales. What we've done over the last 6 months, whilst it may look like we've just put some small packs in place for palletized 16 language labels, we've actually built an entire business that most people have just as an existing business. We've built that on top of our bulk graphene and graphene production battery development business. It was possibly the most intense period of the whole 9 years after founding this. And the team is extremely proud of the fact of where you can see these graphene lubricant bottles behind us. That product, when that came in, the team was extremely proud because we know that there's no other company that's done that, and it'll take a lot of work for any company to come there. So I guess that's bringing it all together. When you're able to pivot to or go further down the line and get this type of product, which is now bottled and packaged in such a way that enables retail sales. It's actually, you can buy it on Amazon right now. You know that the team is the main asset of the company, and that will always be the case. Okay, we've got another question. Does New Caledon have a large footprint in the data center market? Excellent question. They do. I think everyone's trying to work out how much of a percent they have of the data center market, because the hyperscalers are hyperscaling without precedence. So I think we all understand that everyone's trying to understand what they have. But New Caledon definitely is involved, and they actually plan to release a product just focused, made by us, just focused on that data center market, which is really quite exciting, obviously. We're just waiting for the next question.
I might add, Craig, to that as I think probably most of the people know, the United States, companies in the United States are investing heavily in data centers, and there's probably over $400 billion that's easily identifiable by major companies in the U.S. And the other interesting point, and I learned this from Bob Gallion, who spoke to a big data center user, that these so-called, everybody's talking about AI. Well, these AI data centers actually use 6 times more power than a normal data center. And the significance is that it then requires more and higher powered batteries, which is something that, so I think there are a number of ways in which GMG can benefit from the development of the data center business here in the United States and globally.
Yeah, I agree, Jack. And I guess the great thing about our product is that it can be applied after the installation. So if you look at the big Stargate facilities, which are just massive installations of hundreds of billions of dollars, which is hard to think of how so much money can be put into one area. But we don't need to be on the actual cooling facilities up front. We can be applied afterwards, which means we're very versatile on how we get to market. We are talking to a lot of the manufacturers who actually are making the equipment for the cooling centers. But to be quite frank, I think a lot of the manufacturers are just trying to keep up with demand. And so a lot of these guys are literally trying to get it to market in terms of the manufacturers of cooling centers, rather than necessarily looking for tweaks. But that will change over time as they look to continue to get or try to get more energy efficiency, which obviously we can provide. Looks like we have no further questions. I want to thank all the questions, all the shareholders for the questions. That was quite informative, and we hope that you got something out of that. Back to you, Jack.
Terry? Okay, good. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who joined the meeting today, and to echo what Craig just said. I think the questions were excellent, and so thank you for taking the time to ask the questions. I hope you found the meeting informative and helpful in your ongoing consideration of your investment in GMG. I would also like to close by thanking those supporting today's meeting, particularly Lisa Thompson, Corporate Secretary, our auditors and lawyers, Computershare and Lumi for the meeting logistics, and also for this excellent facility at the Riverfront Studios here in Bordentown, New Jersey. Thank you very much, operator.
This concludes the meeting. You may now disconnect.